Yo, what is good, creators? Welcome to the Create to Inspire Corner, where I, your host, Coriel, interview creatives from around the world, often share their stories to give you some of the creative inspo you need so you can go on and create to inspire in your own community. So starting off with the HEAL acronym, the first one is H, and it stands for honesty. You have to be real. In order to heal, we have to be real. I know you mentioned earlier how you transitioned from different college okay, so when you first made music, what was kind of that moment where you had to really be real with yourself and really get these feelings out that you had on paper, and just write about how you were feeling? Do you remember any of that?
Yeah, I think so. When I first started making music, and I was going through that whole transition of transferring colleges, and I was getting out of a toxic relationship, and it was just a situation where I was kind of just bottling up my feelings because that's kind of how I was like taught to do it, like in a or not taught to do it, but that's kind of just what I saw,
Mm,
and like with my father, and I'm not putting him down by any means, but he was taught in his generation not to talk about your feelings. He
mm,
was taught to bottle everything up, and that you're being soft if you talk about those feelings.
mm,
So he never really talked about them, and that's kind of just what I saw. And then for me, it just kind of I really struggled with that for a while. Of like I have an issue, I have a problem, and I'm like I don't feel like I can talk to anyone about it because if I do, it's showing weakness.
mm,
Um, so I really struggled with that for a while. I don't struggle with that anymore. But that was kind of, I couldn't do it in a talking aspect, but I could do it in a musical aspect.
mm,
So that's where that honesty was able to flow. So, and then because I was able to be more honest in my music and flow through the words in the songs, then it helped me give me the courage to do it in regular talking conversations with people.
mm.
So that's for me specifically. That's how it worked out.
Yeah. So can you tell us a little about the relationship between creativity and vulnerability? How do you think those two play a role with each other? I know you talked a little bit about in your life personally. What do you think those two? How do those two impact other people, and even impact the person themselves who are embracing creativity and vulnerability, kind of together?
Um, well, I think that a lot of people can force being creative, but I think, and that's fine, and people will vibe with it for a little bit. But if you're not vulnerable from with that, over time, people are going to see through that,
Mm,
and people are they're gonna be like, oh, that was cool, and then on to the next thing. It's not gonna stick.
mm,
But if you're vulnerable and you're trying to be creative with that vulnerability, that's gonna stick. That's what's gonna be remembered.
mm, definitely. So I think something that a reason why people are afraid to be vulnerable a lot of times is because worrying about what other people will think, and that kind of is a good transition to the next letter in the HEAL acronym. So next one is E for eliminating worrying about other people, and eliminating worry about just having control. And I wanted to ask you, what mindset helps you when you're writing music, especially this album that you wrote, Too Much to Type? What mindset helped you not to worry about what other people have thought, and really just hone in and focus on what uh, you were wanting to create?
I think for me, the biggest thing is that we're all on a different journey. We're all at different stages of that journey. And for me, it's I trust the process. I trust. I like putting my hands in the dirt and grinding and going after it. And even if it's like a small nudge of a growth each day in some way, shape, or form, even if it's not a huge growth, it's little steps over time create big differences. Um, and the people that are with me and they see that and they appreciate that, that's totally fine and that's great. And the people that don't, that's fine too. But like they're not going to do the growing for me. They're not going to um like if I was to fail and be done with this and not work on it anymore and be totally done with music, they're not really going to blink an eye because they're not in my life. You know what I mean? I'm not at that stardom. Like if it was Justin Bieber or if it was like Kid Leroy or something different, that would be a little bit different because everyone would be like, oh my gosh, the world's ending. Justin Bieber's not making any music anymore. Like that because he's reached that level of stardom. For me, it's like for underground indie artists, like they're not gonna care because it's like they're not not a public figure like that, and that's fine. That's totally fine. It's just the situations where it's like you have to be real with yourself to a point where you create so that you can inspire other people. But if other people don't care, like it's totally fine. Like you got to be able to, you got to be totally content with creating just for the matter of creating because you love it. And even if it's just for one person, or even if it's just for yourself because you need it, then that's what it is. So that's how I do it.
Yeah. So if there's someone who's watching this show, listening to this podcast, and they might be in that position of conflict where they have this piece of art, they have this something that they've written out, they put together, they put all the work in, but that that constant voice of like concern of worrying about other people, worrying about control, worrying about opinions. What advice would you give them that you think that would help them to get that final push out, even if it is in the end their final decision to do so? What piece of advice would you give them?
The biggest piece of advice is that be very, very open and welcome to all the criticism that you can get. Because in my opinion, someone should not be a creative if they cannot handle any criticism. In my opinion, they shouldn't be a creative if they can't, because it's like if you're displaying a work out there, people are unique. They're going to have different thoughts and feelings about whatever. If I look at a painting, I might feel and I might feel a totally different way about it than what you might feel if you looked at it. And it might be a negative, it might be a positive. That's just how it is. But people, you can't take it personal, because the people, they're talking about the art. They're not talking about you as an individual. Everyone has different tastes and styles that they like. It's just a preference. Doesn't mean that your stuff's bad. It doesn't mean that your stuff's amazing. It's just it's subjective.
I like what you mentioned earlier about having an intention of creating to inspire, but also being willing to sometimes just create to create because we enjoy it. I think that's something that's important as well. Because like you said earlier, it's a therapy. It used to be a therapy for you, something that you went to, something that you go to. So not worrying about other people's control or opinions can help you really just hone in and do what you love. And so the next acronym, part of the acronym, which is an A, it stands for allowing those emotions, like we talked about, to be released. And I want to ask you for this point, what was your favorite song on the album Too Much to Type, and where you felt like you really just let it out?
Oh, that was the 3 a.m. interlude. That was my favorite. I think it was like the first time that was the first time that I really pushed my voice in general and actually put it out for people to listen to. Which a lot of my tracks that are coming up have a lot of me pushing my voice. And then also too, it was I think for me, it was the most vulnerable track for that I was on in the album, because of just it was so literal for me, because I would always stay up till like 3, 4, 5 in the morning, wake up and go to class at like 9, and then I'd do the same thing. I was barely sleeping. And the reason I was barely sleeping because I was like on Adderall all the time. And I obviously I haven't been on it for 2 years, but I was on it. And it was just every time I'd go back for my checkup every 3 months, and then they just raised my dosage by 5 milligrams. And I got up to like 35 milligrams extended release. It was just terrible. And I felt like a zombie. And I felt like when I was on, and I was like hyperactive and I was in your face. And then when I was off, I was like, I don't want anyone near me. I just wanted, it was just such a, I don't want to put this label on it, but it was very similar to like bipolar tendencies. So it was just it was very unhealthy. And that was my release from that. When I put that out, I was like, no more, I'm done. I'm over it.
So the last letter of the acronym, which stands for L, which stands for leading others through what you've gone through, what you've accomplished. And I think this is one of the most beautiful things in art, being able to go through something like we talked about earlier, being able to go through these emotions, go through these experiences, like you're talking about with the experiences you had in college, 3 a.m., waking up at 3 a.m., staying up, all these different experiences, and being allowing to put those emotions on the paper and then create it into this form of art that you can give to other people as a personal guide to help them get through something that you've already gone through. What do you think is the importance of this, and how has this played a role in your life?
So the importance of it, I think it's very important because people don't understand. But no matter how big your audience is, even if it's one person or 100,000 people, you're on a stage. You know what I mean? You're an example. And if you're gonna influence that person in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's a very small amount where they're like, "Oh yeah, that influenced me not to listen to your music anymore," or if it influenced me in a huge, impactful way of like, "This is how I'm gonna live my life now." Like you're influencing people. You're influencing them. So it's important, for me to lead creatively for people that I don't even realize are watching, honestly. And that like the cameras are always on me. The cameras are always on everybody. Even if you don't do a creative thing in your body, like your kids are watching you. If you're a dad that goes to work every day and that's all he does with his life, your kids watch you. Your kids watch how you interact with your wife or your husband. And also your wife is watching you, just how you interact, like how you interact with your kids. And it's like everyone's on display, and it does no different for creatives. But it's just for now, it's like with that, it's like you can have an impact on someone that lasts forever because it's online. You know what I mean? And it can keep impacting people over and over and over again, years down the road, because when it's online, it's forever. So I think it's really important, because it can be used as a really, really good tool, a really positive tool, but it can also be a very, very negative tool too. So it's important for us to discern discern is not the right word. I would say be very, very strategic with every step that you take, and be very, very intentional and understand what the consequences are, whether they're good or bad.
So I know earlier we kind of going back to the album Too Much to Type, watched the documentary. Like I said, it was dope watching you guys work together, all that kind of stuff. What was it like, being able to collaborate, with your homies, making music? And also, I know this is vulnerable stuff you guys are writing about. How did it help you guys connect as individuals, being able to go through these 12-hour runs, writing music, being vulnerable, letting those feelings out with each other? How do you think the relationship between creativity, vulnerability, and collaboration kind of play with each other?
I think for one, it made us closer friends than ever. I have, with whatever friends you have, there's a different level of a relationship with each of those friends. Someone's like your best friend that you talk to all the time. And then there's like maybe 4 or 5 people that are like really, really close friends. And then there's like maybe 10 that are like acquaintances, but also like really like they're friends, you would consider them friends. But for that, it's like after these experiences, like those guys feel like my brothers, you know what I mean? And I've only ever had that. Like I played soccer in college as well. And when you're on a team like that, it's like a brotherhood. So like those guys are my brothers too. And that's what it feels like. But like, it was just such a cool thing for a situation like that in music to make them feel like it's the same type of sports brotherhood type level that I've had. It's very interesting that music could do that too. It didn't have to just be, you don't have to be a part of a sports team to reach something like that. So that was really, really, that was a huge blessing and something that was probably priceless compared to everything else that came from this album. I need the money for some more caffeine. I got more beats than Dwight Schrute. His songs are great.
I love it, bro. So I just got 2 more questions for you that I call them the creative questions of the day. So the first question is kind of a scenario question. So I know before this interview, I asked you some pretty random questions. I asked you if you like Marvel, I asked you if you like Avatar: Last Airbender. And I asked this because I was watching the documentary and I saw Marvel in the background. And I saw Avatar: Last Airbender in the background. So I was like, oh, wait, let me ask about that. And so kind of relating, the reason I chose that theme is because I think with superheroes, we can relate to them sometimes because, they're vulnerable. We get to see the full story of their lives in the movie. We see how they interact with the people they're around, how they're able to overcome things that they've experienced. And so going on with the theme of vulnerability, superheroes, and also healing, I wanted to ask you if you could have the power of any healing hero, any healing superhero, which hero would you choose? First off, it sounds weird, but Doctor Strange, he actually says some kind of healing power. You see, you can turn the apple into a regular apple. And then we got Katara and Wolverine. So, and there's a couple other options. We got the Hulk who has speed, fast healing, Flash, and Deadpool. If you could have the power, if you could have the power of any healing superhero, who would it be?
Of any healing superhero.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, I guess, is Katara a superhero? She's not really a superhero. She's a character, but yeah.
They're superheroes to me.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, superhero.
I would say healing superhero. Oh man. Well, my favorite Marvel character is Captain America.
All right.
And I love his fast healing. Like, so he, like, it's weird because his metabolism burns so fast, like he can't get drunk, stuff like that. Like, also he's like, if he gets cut, it starts to heal, like almost like Wolverine, stuff like that. But I think, but water bending would be so cool.
I know, bro. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, water bending would be so cool because you can use it both as a healing and yeah, you know what? Honestly, it'd probably be like Katara.
Nice.
That'd be awesome because there's also like earth, air, fire, but water. It's just the healing powers from that. I'd rather be a water bender. That'd be so cool.
All right. So my last question for you, Isaac, is what does the phrase "create to inspire" mean to you?
It means, for me, create to inspire means just setting a good example and, creating art that is going to influence the next generation to create even stuff that's even better than what you made. So that's what it means to me. It's my mentality is I always want for the people who care about me and pour into me, and I want them to get to where I'm at and even go even further than that. That's what I want for them. I want them to go even further than what I can go. And same thing for the people that I inspire in the future. If I do that, I want them to be inspired to take it even farther than what I have done. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Isaac, for hopping on the corner. Where can people follow you, support you, check out your music, or any of that?
Yeah. So anytime you want to follow me on any socials, it's just IRG Music. I think the only different one is Twitter, which is IRG_music. And then all of my streaming platforms are .IRG. But yeah, the easiest way to reach out to me is through Instagram, just DM. I'm always, even if it's nothing business related, if it's just people just want to talk, I'm always down for it, just to chat and have a good conversation. So just send me a message and get a conversation going.
For you guys watching at home, hope you guys enjoyed today's episode of the Create to Inspire Corner with Isaac. We chatted about healing, vulnerability, and creativity, and I hope this played a role in your life. And to end today's episode off, I want to give you guys a quote by Brene Brown, and it says here, "Vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change." So let's continue to embrace vulnerability so that we can truly go on and create to inspire. Peace.